Hi everyone, my name's Associate Professor Alice Gorman. I'm a space archaeologist from Flinders University in Adelaide. And for the last many years, I've been looking at human objects outside Earth throughout the whole of the solar system, objects that have landed on the surface of other planets and moons, deep space probes, including some that are actually in interstellar space outside the solar system, and thinking about them in terms of what they can tell us about human material culture. Interestingly, when space archaeology first started to develop, it kind of emerged partially out of Australia. And there's still more space archaeologists per capita in Australia today than, well, maybe the US has about as many. It's interesting because people often say, space archaeology, how can that even be a thing? First of all, space is sort of associated with the future, and archaeology is associated with the past. So sometimes it's a weird concept for people to think about. But I'm doing what any archaeologist does. I'm looking at places and objects and using them to ask questions about how humans adapt to their environments over time. And sure, this is sort of in the present, on the cusp of the future, but what that does is create the really exciting possibility that the results we get from studying the data from space sites can actually help the development of future space missions. And that's a privilege that most archaeologists don't get to have because we're working more in the past. So my work has focused around looking at space debris, often called space junk, what it can tell us about the way humans have gone into space, the technologies they've used, their social and political motivations, and the kind of environment that's been created as now nearly 10,000 satellite launches are starting to decay, fall back into Earth. I'm interested in the cultural heritage significance of old satellites. So, we've got 60 years and more of this record in space. And I'm interested in the kind of environment that's being created, a cultural landscape in Earth orbit that we have to manage appropriately so that Earth orbit remains available to future generations. I'm also really interested in lunar mining. So I was a cultural heritage consultant that did a lot of heritage work with Indigenous communities, particularly around mining industry on Earth. But now it's planned for various missions to go to the moon and mine the South Pole. So there's some similar issues here around managing cultural values, ensuring that we don't destroy all of these incredible sites so there's nothing left, and also thinking about how communities normally excluded from space, particularly like Indigenous communities, how they might relate to these landscapes. Finally, I have been working on the International Space Station as an archaeological site, using the evidence from 20 years of photographs to see how people use objects and what we can learn from that NASA doesn't know. And there's a lot they don't know. So that's kind of a background to space archaeology. Australia got a space agency in 2019, and we then signed up to a US document called the Artemis Accords. There are 7 Artemis Accords. One of them is about cultural heritage. So in Australia, we have some relevant expertise, and there's all kinds of possibilities about, we may not have to always assess archaeological sites on the moon from a distance. Maybe we'll get an opportunity to actually go and do field work on the moon at some point in the future. But there's so many possibilities. So if you start thinking about space endeavours as a distinct historic theme, There are places all over Australia that are related to Australians' use of rockets, of satellites, all the ways we acquire Earth observation data, process it, use it in different ways. So looking at how life in Australia has changed as a result of accessing satellite services is a whole area of contemporary archaeology that is waiting to be done. Other work that's waiting to be done includes comparing the 6 Apollo landing sites on the moon, where 6 missions where between 1969 and 1972 humans went to the moon, collected samples, ate, excreted. So people are fascinated by the thought that there's human poop on the moon. And no one has ever actually compared those 6 sites. How did they change from the first one to the last one? In that short 6-year period, how did humans adapt to 1/6 Earth gravity? So I think Australia, we've kind of been a little bit sidelined in global space industry until recently. We've always been doing space, but we're becoming more prominent in it now. And I would love to see some of the principles Australian archaeologists have developed around cultural heritage management applied in space. I think we can make a real contribution to the future of contemporary archaeology.